I'm 37. Well, I can't just call you man. You could call me Dennis. Well, there you go. I like the intro. My name is President-elect Monty Dean. This is Planet Collingwood. You're on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please donate to the station so we can continue broadcasting on Studio A and B, which is at freedomslips.com and or revolution.radio. Give what you can. Be sparingly, don't sell the Porsche. Just don't drive it for a week or something like that. We don't accept children. This is not the cabal. We're not like that. Big thank you to Tony and the Y-Files and all the gentlemen there. And there was one Australian guest on I'll be having a word with. The slut going around. We're not in a relationship, but, when you find out someone's seeing someone else, it does actually hurt. I think he's reacted, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, we'll get to you in a moment, my friend. While you're at the said websites, go to the Zazzle merch, swag, stuff you can buy page and buy T-shirts, caps. I think they still have the flash drives in the bullet. Oh, that's a really bad echo. As well as the archives are still free, so if you miss any shows, you can catch up on any of those, and then pop into the chat room where you're like-minded, like-hearted, just like people. So hello, chat room. I love you from afar, because Cortek and I are in Wednesday. Well, it is Wednesday there too, but it's 6 o'clock in the evening here. So we're going into summer, and it's a lovely summer's day. And I was thinking about it where we're coming out of lockdown. Like, well, you've had a holiday. Lockdown's not a holiday, and you all go back to work. But it's summer. I just want to get drunk and watch Metallica videos. What's going on? Ooh, oh yeah. Now, if this is Planet Collingwood, another orbit has been completed. Steve, that's just really weird. I have been joined by wonderful, great men. I'm going to just say in a past life are all Vikings stuck on a boat having a chat. I have been joined by Steve Zerilath, as well as Cortek and the mighty John Z. How are you, gentlemen? Well, it's going to go well.
Thanks. I'll just jump in there.
Well, yeah, no, I thank you. I really should sort of introduce everybody one at a time instead of having a group of people. So thank you for being here. It makes my job easier because I can't just monologue for 2 hours. I could, but it'd be boring and I'll repeat myself. So
I had to make some adjustments, so you're not going to hear all the weird stuff.
Okay, cool. Yes, before, my comedic brain just went wrong. Steve is referring to that we're simulcast on D Live at this point in time. So hello to all the D Livers. What's the collectivism there?
They're delighted to meet you.
Oh, I'll see. Yes. And that sets the tone of Planet Collingwood, where we talk about serious subjects like idiots, clowns, and everything else. Not political clowns, where Joe Biden, who said apparently, I think it was in the last show they mentioned that Joe Biden has actually said that this election has been the safest and there's been no shenanigans at all. And I'm thinking, you're just lucky to be out of the basement, let's be fair. Have you noticed his eyes are really close together? I don't know who did his facelift, but when he smiles, it's just so wrong.
I saw a funny meme about that. It was the guy on the balcony playing the banjo from Deliverance, and both of them together. Whatever happened to that kid on the balcony?
Do you feel old now? I like those memes. Yeah.
You could see, speaking of Biden's smile, if you saw his election night appearance, he did that crooked smile that one now understands as Duper's delight.
Well,
his tell came through.
Oh, yes. I actually only saw half of it because I was watching later with Crowder. And Facebook actually, during Biden's speech, for whatever reason, they cut the stream on Facebook, and so YouTube followed along, and it took about a couple of minutes because it would only get up to a certain point, and they were up to nearly 500,000 people watching live. And about 10 minutes later, they started the whole stream again, and they got up to just over 400,000 streaming. They did better than the mainstream media online. So, yeah, He's got over 5 million subscribers at this point in time, and all this week he's been doing the fraud week, going through each state with Good Morning Mug Club and going through all the just the evidence and everything else like that. Where it's like it's just it's so completely opposite of the mainstream media. It's like these baseless accusations that there's any voter fraud and blah blah blah.
I mean, like you couldn't get. I don't know if you can get any more prima facie than this.
Yeah, it's like, and now they're calling for censorship with because we'll probably talk about the COOF, the old COFA, the cough, whatever it's freaking called. I don't know. I made a lockdown, and apparently South Australia is going into lockdown. It's like what is it?
FA19.
Yeah, it's a touring festival now. Like lockdown, enjoy it at home.
They might get some publicity and actually get some tourism down there afterwards. Any publicity is good publicity.
No. Oh. Like, if really, have you seen what the Victorian police have done this year? Like, I'm not going near that place. I left an African country to get away from that type of thing, and quite frankly, I'm not going back to. My accent just went bicontinental. I used to do that. I would start doing a Scottish accent and end up in India. That's a trick.
Trick of business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is, because it's just
those narrators
silly.
that do 5 voices at once with all different voices. It's a whole nother level.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Harry Shearer from The Simpsons. He does Mr. Burns and Smithers. And if the scene, if they don't overlap, he does it at the same time. Apparently, it's very freaky to watch those two voices coming out of the same person. But he gets paid too much money, and there's a show that really should actually stop, because it's not funny anymore. It's like 30 seasons in, they're repeating themselves after 400 episodes. What are they up to now? It's like, just shut up. And of course, Trump is Satan, and so when they're trying to be political, it's cringe fest. Just super cringe fest. Now, which reminds me, this is day 15 of the election. How's everyone going? Go ahead, Steve.
I was saying you were saying The Simpsons, right? Yeah. So South Park is sort of hitting that realm too, because South Park's now in that hairy situation where they can't quite be on point with what's going on in the country.
Yeah, they're walking a line.
Comedy Central will kill them.
Yeah.
That's probably why they did the Fred Sassy thing.
Yes, I mean, South Park is kind of like pulling a Joe Rogan. It's like, we're like we're right-wing friendly, but we're going to tell right-wing what to think.
There's also an element of they're 20 seasons in. They've made a couple of dollars, so they're kind of. I could see them going, "No, we're bored. We don't like doing this anymore," and they can stop. They could go. They'll probably be creative, because I mean they did the whole Mormon musical thing. That took like years to get through, but they'll still be creative because they're very creative people. But
they seem to like dipping into those different genres, don't they? Like,
well, yeah,
and just doing the best job anyone's ever done in that genre. Kind of thing.
They'll make a fortune selling, South Park iconography as merchandise for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, on top of the fortune they already have. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if Hollywood get out, it's like, fine.
I think they're just going to keep themselves busy doing that deepfake stuff now. I think that's just so edgy they can just do whatever they want with the best masks now.
I'm sure they will, yeah. We have been, speaking of, I can't think of a segue, because I'm not going to bring up deepfake. That's wrong. I call him Paul, but the rest of the station calls him Aust Paul, because he's from Australia. How are you, my friend? As we fumble for the mute. There we go.
Yes. Had to unmute myself. Etiquette. Yes, it's all good. I've been having fun. Seeing the lockdown sort of semi-ish over not many people wearing masks unless you go into a shop, which is, but yeah, everyone on the streets, no masks. But also,
in my area, there's a lot of masks.
Well, they've always worn them.
No, everyone. I haven't seen anyone without a mask. One guy with a dog, and that was probably about a week ago. But that's the interesting thing. We're up to day 17 or 18, double donuts. And it's like, people in marketing should be shot in the head. Oh, I retract that. People in marketing should be punched. You know what I'm trying to say. But double donuts, double donuts is 0 cases and 0 deaths. And I think on the 23rd of November, which is Doctor Who Day, just pointing that out for you, that there may be some relaxation with the masks where apparently if you're not standing near anyone, you can take it off or some crap. Mind you, being Revolution Radio and all our listeners and hosts and producers and the connection to actual information, the masks are very unhealthy, especially if they're not medical grade, and if you touch them once, you have to replace them. And if you've just got a thin cotton mask, and if it's not washed in a hospital grade washing machine, it's kind of pointless.
See the guy with the dog, with the guy had with the mask had the dog. Did the dog have a mask on? What about dogs' rights?
Well, no. Oh yeah. Well,
I reckon the RSPCA be right on that.
I reckon only when we sort it out for animals should we be thinking about ourselves. Selfless.
Actually, yeah, if I actually seen that poor dog with a mask on, you know what I'd do? Take it straight off.
Yeah,
no,
like say, save it
straight off and go to him. Excuse me, you don't know me, but I know people in Australia. Well, my sister used to work for Australian National Management for, the...
Wait, is this you talking to the dog?
It's taking a while.
No, don't get me wrong. I had Weber, which was my organic lawnmower. Yes, he was a male sheep, and no, he had no balls. That's why he's a Weber. And I named him Weber because a unique sheep is named Weber. So anyway, I had the sheep there for a year and a bit, and when I put him outside to munch on the grass, and people were going, ooh, delicious, and all these wogs and this and that, and going, even had one dude trying to get the damn thing right. I had dogs waiting on the other side. Yeah, that scared the living shit out of them. They got straight back in the car. Yeah. And
I'm so glad I didn't live in your suburb. It's just
don't you worry. I'm on the main road. I don't know who.
The sheep poaching.
I'm so jolly jumbuck.
I know. It sounds very, very Walsall Matilda. Like, please, Paul, don't jump into a billabong. You're worth more than that.
The funny part about that is if they touch my sheep, I'm allowed to legally shoot them.
What gun would you shoot?
And I've got firearms.
What would be your weapon of choice?
Which one? Which one?
A blunt one.
I actually saw that.
And this is still Australia.
Yeah, I saw the. If you remember, if you're familiar with Sean McAuliffe, Australian comedian, I think he was doing a sketch show back in the day. He does for American listeners, like a daily show, but it's funny.
He still does it a bit. It's still quite good.
Yeah. He had two seasons this year, and it was so weird trying to do comedy to an empty room because he couldn't have an audience. Anyway, the sketch was where there was a bit of road rage. Two guys got into a car crash, bit of a bingle, bit of a nudge, which makes me giggle. That's a mechanic term. Oh, did you have a nudge? Like, I plowed into it. Anyway, one guy was starting to hit the other guy's car with a baseball bat, and Sean comes up and is like, "What are you doing? This is disgraceful and it's un-Australian. Use this." And he gave him a cricket bat instead of a baseball bat.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a visual
the
game.
cricket bat. Yeah. Actually, I made 3AW once upon a time.
Okay. This is hard. Don't worry, listeners. There isn't a test at the end. We're just giving out all these Australian references.
Yeah, what is that? What is that?
So,
it's a radio station on Australia. And
in Melbourne.
Neil Mitchell. Anyway, apparently I got this now under Collingwood. The station Collingwood. I'm not going to say exactly where, but anyway, we were right there, and we go across the road with the lights, the pedestrian crossing, and these morons always run the red light and try to run us over. Well, actually, they don't know, but because they're not looking, right? Because all the traffic stopped, but
get to the point.
There's a lane right, Oh,
wait, is this still under the car park?
Oh, don't ask questions. Cortek, don't ask questions.
Are you in a car or running? Actually running.
He's a pedestrian. He's walking across.
Okay, I'm with you.
Under the train tracks. Do you know Victoria Park Station?
So you asked him a question, Cortek, and he's explaining more.
Yeah. No, I know. I actually, yep.
I want a premise here. Then we can get on to important information.
Now,
go ahead. Finish your story, Paul.
I've got the little green man to cross. This idiot almost hit me. Well, he actually did hit me with his mirror, right? And he parked, now, and he was in one of the cars, right, that I had fun knowing how to pick them up, right, because I'm working as LPG in this, Grease Monkey, right? And we were having fun, just see if we can, lift them up, and we put people in this and that. Don't get me wrong, it was funny as hell, right? But anyway, this idiot almost got me, right? He did collect me, got me shoulder, and with his bloody mirror, I walked straight up to his car, and I lifted him up, go eye to eye, right, in his little tiny Daewoo, right, the Matisse, 3-cylinder.
All right. So to condense the 30 seconds that we've had, you were hit by a car, so you confronted the driver. Okay, go ahead.
Now, I've lifted him up off. He's only on 2 wheels now. So, and I'm friggin' angry as hell, and I'm about to flip the bastard over. But all of the other cars won't make it. Well, they're all just looking stunning. I go, mate, you're so lucky that there's other cars there, otherwise you'd be on your bloody roof. And then I freaking threw him up and then walked across the road, and he bounced a few times, and I go, ever do that again, you'll be sorry. I'll do it the other side.
Where did the basket
Don't ask questions. I've gone through this. Okay, well, that was fascinating. I don't know how 3AW is involved, but we have to move on now.
No, okay.
We're not moving on. All right.
Okay. Well, after I'd done that, an hour and a bit, I was on 3AW because we were listening to it, and they go, oh, well, we've seen this person get hit by a car, and then he lifted the car up and scared the living hell out of the person, and then went into the shop and got some brekkie or some morning tea.
You need, if you're a writer, you need an editor just to condense that story. We have been joined. We've been joined by HiJacker. How are you, HiJacker?
Pretty good. So I wanted to talk about the most important thing, and that we're on the precipice of a President Biden letting Queen Elizabeth basically sell 70, probably 80% of the former penal colony known as Australia to the communist Chinese.
The Chinese kind of own over 50% already. And also with Biden, speaking with Biden, a couple of listeners, guests, Bruce McDonald and the Viking, sent me interesting little tidbits. That's why I couldn't really, I had to sort of fob off John Z because he wanted to have a chat beforehand. He's like, I'm doing research, watching a YouTube video. It looks like, yeah, I know, but just we can get into the whole COVID thing and how that response is overblown and it's got nothing to do with
that. It's Biden.
But with Biden, the Sidney Powell, she's a member of Trump's legal team. She's been a federal prosecutor for 10 years. Even Stephen Crowder's lawyer said, she in the lawyer world, she is totally respected, and she's how do the kids say? She's a gun. And so the stuff that's coming up with that, where they've got so much, like there's reports now, because everything's so bombarded with information, it looks like what the information they found servers in Germany and Spain allegedly, and it looked like it was a complete 110 votes electoral college to Trump. And so it's interesting, getting back to what HiJacker just said, it's interesting how the media is playing up and like, no, it's won, don't look into it. We need $30 million to fight these lawsuits. It's like, well, that doesn't sound like someone who won that normally. And so what the hell is the office of the president-elect? That's new. So they're just trying to force their own reality to move forward. So expand on because the Queen's 94. I just watched season 4 of The Crown, so I'm sort of up until 1990. Geez, so that family's completely blank. So is Biden allowing the Chinese to? Because he obviously Biden's just going to do what his master tells him, and the Queen's going to offload off this land because she's going to slip off this mortal coil soon. Is that what you're kind of putting forward?
Yeah, well, it dovetails into what Henry Kissinger basically said about Biden, is that what we're watching, you've heard the book, The Great Game, or The Strategy of the Great Game. I forgot who wrote it. It's out there. But the elite basically play a worldwide type of monopoly chess game among themselves, where they use basically the Goyen, the slave class, the masses, to fight their wars and to, game everything out. But at the top, it's nothing more than a really complex fourth dimensional chess game. And so what we're looking at is what the Queen is. So anyways, Kissinger says it's going to be like, he didn't say World War II. He said World War I. And if you know what the signature of World War I was a complete restructuring, renaming of like everything. For instance, I don't even think there was a Poland before World War I, or Serbia.
I think that was sorry to interrupt. I think that was Prussia, and then it changed to Poland.
Right, yeah.
In a very basic, this is not for you, HiJacker, for this is for the listeners. A basic history lesson is after World War I, they created the League of Nations.
Right.
The Arab states have gone, you're screwing us, and left, so that collapsed. And then World War II was created with Hitler, and after that you had the UN. And interesting enough, this seems like it's running parallel with what they want to do with the Great Reset. The interesting thing about that is the marketing of it was like, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. And everyone's gone, I'm sorry, what? And so they removed that from the IMF website because there's a backlash. And did you see one more question for you, sir? Did you see the footage of Prime Minister Trudeau talking about all this stuff at a press conference type thing? He actually said it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, just a bit of comedy, but he's just got such a lovely punchable face. Like, I don't know why people vote for him, but because that started tweeting because he just said everyone's gone like, oh, wasn't this a conspiracy theorist, a conspiracy theory? And Trudeau said UN, Great Reset, after the pandemic, everything else like that. Go ahead, HiJacker.
Yeah, well, the point is the reason why I called in is that you Aussies. Japan, Taiwan, even India, New Zealand, you guys, if this guy Biden is able to pull it off, and it looks like it's going to come down to Supreme Court. So do they got dirt on other Supreme Court justices so that they can flip it? Because Sidney Powell's whole case basically rests upon the court system. It's not resting upon basically a political. Now in Michigan, it does look like it's going to be a political move with the state legislature picking the electors. But by and large, especially what's happening in Georgia and Pennsylvania, it's going to go into the court system. If the court system is corrupt and rotted and that model fails and the court system doesn't put the brakes on a Biden election, then the only other thing that we got is we got this dystopic President Trump with the military. They basically go Lincoln. They go martial law. They go like a Q model, and where they're actually going to go. If you actually believe Dmitry Duduman, who had a vision from an angel, of what was going to happen. He said basically, and I'm paraphrasing it down to just a thumbnail. He says, when the United States government is at war with the communists in a type of civil war, then the communists, then the Chinese invade and the Russians nuke so many cities.
Sounds a bit vague. Does this guy have a history of prophetic dreams that have come true? Just a one-off?
A little. One or two, I think.
Well, no, but he's backed up by a whole bunch of other people, including people who basically prophesized and saw visions of little. What he saw were like little
you understand that
black boxes
right?
or called the black laptop computers. He never saw those before, and that people would have devices in which they could hold in their hand and they could call anybody like in the world, which would be the cell phone. So there's a whole class of these people.
But you're talking about the futurists. It's like the guy does futurism, right? He imagines how the future works without knowing the names of the technology.
Right. No, these are Christians. These are Christians who have seen things and have visions.
That ilk of people,
yeah.
Right?
A possibility.
Right, the ones that traffic in their souls, Steve. The ones.
A possibility.
The ones that traffic in their souls. You don't claim a prophetic vision or to be a prophet, and if you're not, you're trafficking in your soul. You do know that.
There's a possibility. I'm not saying you're correct and I'm correct. There is a possibility. And John, if you want to follow up as well, because I know you dabble in this stuff because you listen to Andrew. So,
go ahead. We got it hot. Let's party. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like it is a possibility. Is they're seeing a parallel timeline leak through into their dream world. And by sharing this information, we choose on a soul level, no, we don't want that. And so by just knowing the information, we can choose a better timeline. John, please. I know you've been trying to talk for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like Monty said, it's a possibility. And when you're talking about visions, prophetic dreams, or whatever you want to call them, understand it's a waterfall, right? It's fluid, it's liquid. Nothing is solid until it actually happens.
Yeah, it's based off real stuff. It does happen.
Oh yeah.
It's known to happen.
I'm not saying not to ignore it. That's the first thing.
Here's what I'll say about the China situation. But there are allegiances, right? Whichever nations agree with Trump about the Chinese virus narrative, those are going to be the places, regardless of how authoritarian that they are, that if Trump holds authority, it will go a different way. And the sell-off of the debt to China to turn everybody from an American vassal state to a CCP vassal state on behalf of the globalists does not occur, right? Because there's a great reset happening whether we want it or not. The question is it going to be pro-humanity or is it going to be new Klaus Schwabenland, as I call it?
Man, he's got the best vests, that
guy. Because they're trying to push it. The way I described it was the people that have basically ruined the planet are going, we've got an idea. Let's do this. It's like, no, no, you idiots. Very quickly to add into the information of this, Cortek helped me out because you would have picked up on your radar. Australia has signed with 18 or 19 other countries. There was a free trade deal or something like that a couple of days ago. I can't remember if China was part of it, but Japan was. Trump didn't go. I'm shocked.
No, China was at the center.
I have a question for you guys, you Aussies. Have you guys heard of something along the lines of you guys are starting up a new medical production facility?
Yes, here in Victoria. Yeah, it's going to have all the vaccines and anti-venom, so this type of thing won't happen again. And I'm like,
why go to China?
Well, from what I understand, yeah, it's going to have vaccines and all that stuff, but you guys kind of got caught with your pants down, and there's a shortage of generic medications.
most likely, yeah, because the media won't actually. They're only COVID. Sounds like quick, we're attacking Pearl Harbor. Tora. COVID. But the damage from the lockdowns, where the economy took a massive hit, a lot of businesses have collapsed, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, just domestic abuse, as well as suicides.
Oh, yeah.
And
domestic abuse probably went off the charts.
Apparently,
Off the charts,
flu season's disappeared. I actually saw on RT, Russia Today.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, the headline was, you'll love this, the headline was, scientists are baffled that influenza has disappeared. Scientists, maybe. Everyone else is like,
Don't interview those scientists. You want to hear what I really want to say. Let's just put them down as not saying anything. They're just baffled.
When I was chatting with my dad, and I didn't decide to confront him because of that whole free will thing, and I like the man. He raised me. So let's be fair. But he said, I rather trust medical professionals, everything else like that. And I didn't want to get into a 3-hour conversation explaining, well, they're all corporate backed, and there's suppression of other scientists and medical professionals that are pointing out, like the video that Bruce just shared with me a couple of 20 minutes ago. There was a guy, I think he is English, but he lives in Canada, and he was just pointing out 5 minutes of just bam, 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 how locking down the healthy is just, it's not about the virus, it's about control. I know I'm
since day one.
Yeah, I'm not trying to convert the choir here. I know I'm preaching to the choir.
Testify.
Yeah.
You see, the problem is
I haven't finished.
They have made the removal of your rights, your freedoms, so comfortable that why wouldn't you just shut up and obey?
Well,
right?
It's not. Well, in a way, the Australian, the Victorian experience was, if you go against our narrative, we'll fine you and put you in jail. So there's that strong arm, the bully boy aspect of it. I don't know exactly with the United States, because it's you're all different, which is good, because you've got I nearly said diversity. You've got different flavors. I do want to say diversity because that's weaponized, but like here in Victoria, it's still mandate that you wear a mask, even though it's unhealthy and blah 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 blah. And if you don't wear a mask, it's a $200 fine, and it just encroaches up. So it could go up to 20,000, like especially if you're protesting and all that stuff. If you go against their narrative, they've got that tyranny aspect of clamping it down. That's because we're Australian, and we've got that Australian lethargy. We're like, oh yeah, whatever. Difference is with the United States, you're built on freedom. Well, you were supposed to be built on freedom, and so there's all these clashes going on.
And we're meant to be, sorry, Monty, and we're meant to be built on the fair go.
Yeah, but who's fair go? But that's the lie they put forward. And so,
America has that unique quality of, we tied everything off. And then the only thing left of our old colonial era was our central bank that we made in a certain kind of agreement to pay off certain foreign debts for our independence, which also involved the leverage that the British Empire had in trade and all the trade negotiations we had to deal with over there. And Hamilton was kind of a Rothschild shill, so it all kind of funneled back into Britain anyway. But we still had that independence, but also our commerce was still kind of in the same place that it was as a way of appeasing the British to bring an end to the war on acceptable terms where America was sovereign. So everybody else, it was kind of like this agreement where you were meant to believe that the British left you. even though the Queen's still on your money, and never mind that, never mind that.
So,
You're independent.
Steve, I would like to thank you very quickly. You've just given me a reason to watch Hamilton. He's a Rothschild? Ooh, I'm fascinated.
Well, I don't know if he's a Rothschild, but like he was.
He'll be an agent or something, yeah.
But he like basically was a Rothschild agent.
Yeah. Now, because apparently, I know in New York, I actually finally saw Governor Newsom, and now this is no disrespect to who's the martial art, Steven Seagal, because like if he had to make wait for it, let me finish. Like, you have a certain amount of money and you're making a Steven Seagal film, and all the money goes on the script and him, and you need a bad guy. That's Governor Newsom. That's what he looks like to me. He's like, this is a C-grade acting bad guy. And I'm like, wow. And he's just like a lockdown, and there's no parties. And so apparently Thanksgiving is cancelled in most of the United States, except for the people of the United States have gone, no. And so there's going to be, because the country is built on telling the English where to stick it, you still have that feeling, and it makes sense. Like, we'll rather be free, leave me alone. And so it'd be interesting and also what will happen in Christmas, and we're all coming to a head on multiple levels.
I think we can get rid of the things we don't like and keep the chicken, keep the turkey, or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
look,
I mean, you're avoiding.
States.
Steve, sorry, HiJacker. Steve, and then HiJacker, please.
There are states in the Midwest where pretty much this whole thing is over. You know, Florida, they practically treat it as if it's over, right? So the horror show is literally just in the states that you're hearing about, to the point that Cuomo doesn't even want to give his state the vaccine, which is kind of an insult to anti-vaxxers, because what he means by that is, I want to keep the lockdown as leverage over you, even though the vaccine is not really what we think.
It's an element it's that childish political crap of like, we hate Trump, and this is from Trump, so therefore to look good, we'll go against it as well. Sorry to interrupt. Did you finish your thought? Because we have a guest, but I want to make sure HiJacker gets in.
Yeah, I'm all set. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. HiJacker? Then after that, I'll lay down.
What's really important, and you got to realize that once we game out this Biden thing, if he does get in there, how quickly it's going to disintegrate, and it's not going to be long before, the communist Chinese or the Australian police force, and then all Australians are going to be required, like once a week, to send their wife.
Hey,
and
Jack,
their daughter.
I think the shit's going to hit the fan in the US before it hits the fan here.
Well,
so
no,
I love your concern. I love your concern, but
you
got to be focused on your own country at this point.
No.
That is the most important thing.
No, you need to focus on us. You don't realize without us, it's over for you. Your wives and daughters once a week will go down.
I think we're kind of balancing our things between you guys and China now, and you guys are just looking like, I don't know, you come across everyone you have dealings with.
You don't understand
one at a time.
We are the top standard for how Western civilization models its freedom.
Hubris.
No, it's the only power structure.
It's literally not. Listen, it's hubris. It's hubris to you on the ground. Go look at the way that they mirror American policy and culture through your government and your entertainment systems, and the way they compare what they do to what's going on over here. They being China. Place there's lots of freedom, they report lots of cases, right? There's more Republicans that are getting positive cases in Congress and in the Trump administration and whatnot, and then you don't get such things in blue. They weaponize this virus.
You got to guess.
Monty. Yeah. That's what I was saying.
It's not hubris. Everywhere I go, I listen to a Canadian. There's important things they think about Trump in context to how they think of their president or prime minister. In Australia, in the UK and Ireland, all over the place where the English-speaking world, people in Germany, there is a reflection. There is a reflection amongst people that are engaged in the conversation to America because the way they play the game and the way America sets the example. Because if the most free place can have no problems whatsoever, despite cases, and can get on with its life, then those leaders have no excuse because they know that they are less free than Americans.
Yes,
it's the way it is.
Yeah. So basically, America is
it's the
America.
hand you've been dealt.
Yeah, yes. America is the only superpower on the planet at this point in time. Other places are trying to breeze up. Now, speaking of superpower, I thought about that 30 seconds ago, and I'm so glad I used it. I've ruined the moment by talking about it. Anyway, a superpower that we've been brought on, a fellow host here on Revolution Radio, which has his show on Friday, because I 2 o'clock or something. But it's the Viking. How are you, sir? Haven't spoken for a while. You obviously haven't burnt down, which is a good thing.
Yeah, no, everything's good. It looks like we have the usual suspects tonight. So my favorite phrase of the week: "Release the Kraken." I mean, come on, man. How can that be more appropriate? I mean, she is on fire.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
You did send me that video of her actually saying that, and she wasn't taking the piss when she said that.
No, she's serious. Look at her.
No, that when she said that, I'm going to release. It's like, I would hate to be her son. If I could, if I upset her as a mother, I would be in so much trouble. And just the amount of evidence that she's accumulated and the conviction, and because as I said, she's been a federal prosecutor for 10 years. You don't go into a case going, I'm not sure. You have everything lockstep and just ready.
Unless
and
the Supreme Court is corrupt. If the Supreme Court
that was sort of that's the next question of how
the game over.
Yeah, good. But however, that will expose it as well. We're at that point where there's a lot of transparency. Please continue on, Viking.
Yeah, no, she's basically. So it's down to Wisconsin today. They're kind of at a deadlock on actually casting their electoral votes because of what's being exposed here is in this whole thing with the glitch and with the reason why the glitch happened. And I mentioned this last time where. On one of the shows I was on the past 10 days, that it got to a certain point, it was 9 o'clock here in California, where they shut down all the polls in all these battleground states. Because the algorithms of the fact that Trump had so many votes that their algorithm to counter it with false votes wouldn't work. And it just completely, they weren't counting on the fact he had such a landslide victory going into the polls. And so they had to shut it down, and they had to then they had to reconfigure it so the next day that they were ahead. But in doing so, especially now what they're finding out in Madison County is that all these cities and all these districts, when they came back, they were 105 to 135% over the registered voting tally. So it was like, this is like it's just beyond ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one faction here. This is because the Dominion has a back door. And it's being played out in Barcelona and Berlin and in China, and they basically put this new algorithm in, but it blew out all of the the registered voters exceeded just as knock out.
Now I know everyone listening knows this because you've been listening to Revolution Radio for 15 days. I'm not going to tell you anything new, but it's for the new listeners. There are so many what's going on here moments where it's worth investigating, but it's just not one or two things. It's across the board. There's different flavors. There's different color. Everything from a gentleman I think in Georgia thought he lost by 6,000 votes, but someone put the data entry in wrong. Like, well, what type of system are you dealing with? But he won. He actually gave a concession speech. He conceded. And then it's like, oh, I won? Oh, cool. That's just one. And I was watching Stephen Crowder, as I said, over they went to bed because they were the media were told that the counting was going to stop because they were tired. And this is your first.
No one else was falling asleep that night.
No. It's just the key states where Trump was extremely in the lead, and then
he was actually going to decide the vote. I mean, he was going to win that night, and they knew he was going to win. They saw he was going to win.
Yes,
and they shut it down. They
shut it. That's what the very short.
They were tired of saying Donald Trump.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
I'm tired of Donald Trump. Let's call it here, guys.
So everybody knows. We talk about Sidney Powell. What she said today. She says that the more information they're finding out, and she says the witnesses and all the information's coming out, all the proofs like a fire hose. If you know what kind of pressure that is, think about it. That's a lot of people where they just have a hard time sitting. But she said that if the truth were to be known, President Trump probably won by 80 million votes. He got 80 million votes.
Yeah.
And that
410 electorals. They predicted 410
they're saying he flipped California.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. if you follow, I mean, I'm not in California. Apparently, I was there once in 1974, but that's by your leave.
I live in California.
Yeah, I know you live there.
We have 40% Hispanics here in California. They don't want Biden. I mean, this is where they're losing their edge in California.
Well, I was just going to say from the Governor Newsom and just the Democratic idea, and being, you're on the recipient of it. We all pray for you. They're just like, well, we want this to stop. I mean, Oregon as well, and it's just also all these key states, like is it 5 or 6? They all happen to be 6. Democrat as well. Yeah, they're all Democrat. It just builds up and up and up. Now you don't have any evidence. It's like, but there's enough for an investigation.
Oh, there's more than enough evidence.
Yeah. But the thing is that the Biden and the office of the president-elect, he's basically said, no, it's all above board. Nothing's wrong. The media's following along. And yet the Biden campaign is asking for people to donate up to $30 million to fight these lawsuits. If there is nothing to hide, they will allow these investigations to go through and say, look, we won. See, there it is. And if there's something to hide, that's what we're seeing. Because there's nothing wrong. We need $30 million to stop it.
I'm sure people would do that.
Does that sound like someone who won an election fairly?
Here's
other stuff came out about Biden during the week.
Go ahead, Steve.
I don't even think the Trump campaign is even really asking for much money in the pursuit of its lawsuits, right?
I think they asked once or twice. Go ahead.
Nunes is actually asking for money. Yeah, go ahead.
Nunes has been asked. Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. But I mean, like from the campaign itself, because from what I understand, there's a lot of independent lawsuits by various Republican factions, and this debate contention is supported by the National Republican Party. Trump had a meeting with the gal who runs the Republican Party right now, and so she is basically part of the stopping the steal as well. So we do have the actual political machine of the Republicans at Trump's back.
There's also I'll say a statement and then a question because we're screaming towards the midpoint there for the. So my statement is there are also Democratic voters that are questioning the outcome as well because it doesn't make sense. It's like they're going, wait a minute.
Because there's the whole process.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. As Americans, this is not really about Trump and Biden. If you go higher up in the level, it's about the concept of your entire country and validity with elections. Go ahead, John.
So, question for the Aussies of the round table. What is the relationship there overall with law enforcement, the police?
Okay, we're changing sub. I'm not done yet.
No, we're not. Just stay with me. So what's the overall.
Yeah, but I mean that's not important for
Can
geopolitical.
I finish my question to get to
We're
my
just
question?
coming up to the
Yeah,
break.
we're
We're coming up to the break.
talking about
We have another hour, everyone. We have another hour.
In relation to
Right.
get it out.
Let's talk about car parts. Okay, all right. go
HiJacker,
ahead.
come on.
Oh my God!
I have a
No,
great tartar
you're
sauce.
wasting- You're eating up airtime. You're eating up airtime. Everyone, let John finish his question, and should we go to the break? Then we'll have a break, and then we have an hour to get back to it.
Then we can talk about car parts.
Yes,
Ooh. We're having a rave. Go ahead, John.
Dave. Yeah. So, what is overall the relationship with the police over there?
Very Australian. It's just like, what do you want?
Thank you. Meaning, because what I've heard is that Australian police aren't dumb. Meaning they're more than likely on the side of the people if something goes upside down. So, relating it to what's going on here in America, our police over here are obviously under siege. So, there's a lot of...
It's true that you guys have an IQ cap on your people in joining the police force, though, don't you? So it's kind of obvious.
But you have the media instead. In Australia doesn't have it, but in the America, you have sections of the media portraying the policeman as the evil villain of the piece.
Mm-hmm.
We know we can't trust the media.
I think overall, though, that the police are on the side of the people, and again, depending on which way this thing goes, you're either going to have a kind of a delayed, slow burn reaction, or you're going to have a very more immediate reaction. And because of restrictions over here of the military not being able to get involved with civil matters, the police are going to play a very pivotal part one way or another. That's why this whole defunding the police thing is, I keep saying it's not over, and people are overlooking it to a very large degree, and they most definitely are going to be a pivot point or a trigger point.
John, in answer to that, in New South Wales at least, I know there is a site being set up by a group of New South Wales people in the police force, Cops for COVID Truth. It's a little bit of a dig, but you can find it, and they are voicing their position so much they want to put out a site and say, we're not going to be used as a tool for this agenda. It's a grouping together of these people, and it seems like a common theme, and it's only one state.
That only works under a President Trump winning a second term. If Biden wins a second term, that little group of law enforcement, By the way, I saw a movie.
They've got no names up there. There's no names up there.
Cortek, what you're saying is like,
movie.
Yeah,
there's an Australian movie. There's an Australian movie with Mick Jagger. I think it was his first.
Ned Kelly.
Ned Kelly, yeah, you ought to check that out. I did appreciate that. Being Irish, I like that particular movie.
Unfortunately,
Ned Kelly, right. Go ahead.
Something that the people need to have their attention drawn to at this point, looking at how obviously bad that this is, the resounding silence of the legal class in all of our countries, the lack of voices of lawyers, these people that are, that are supposed to serve our best interest in justice.
Yeah, they obviously know where most of their paychecks come from.
Yeah, and also they're being shut down.
I know all about the conspiracy of the lawyers, and that's my point. Right? This is very important to put out. To have gone through nearly 9 months of this with barely 1% of legal people that had that stuck their neck out and said, "This is wrong. This is way beyond health, and this is way beyond humanity."
Shows you where the majority of that profession's money comes from. Then.
Well, it's add to that. I'm not saying. I'm sure they were just following the party line in that respect because of yes, we're much better than everyone else. But there have been lawyers that are fighting it because they understand the law. However, if you bring in how the medical profession's been treated, like the first Americans and everything else, and everyone, just the alt media and censorship and everything else like that. So there's an element of just waiting to see what happens, and we're at the break. So this is Planet Collingwood, Revolution Radio. We'll be right back and continue on with this awesome conversation. Stick around. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio, Planet Collingwood. It's a jumbled sentence. Put it into order as I try and save myself from getting it wrong. If you enjoyed the last hour, please go to freedomslips.com or revolution.radio and donate what you can. Just $10 for a year, and if every listener did it, will be covered because we still live in a debt society, and these people want to get paid bills. Swine. Anyway, we're 100% listener supported, so thank you for all your help and interaction as well. Because how many people we have in the call? 5, 6, 17? All the chaps just giving it lovingly because we want to save humanity. I know it's an odd thing, but hey, why not? Say hello, and I'll say hello to everyone in the chat room as well. Stardust Man, Daryl, is in there. Good to hear you. He spelt Nad Killy, but it's Ned Kelly. But I like that.
That's a funny close second.
I know.
So Monty,
is that?
We'll come back to the
Wait, my turn. I got shut down.
Yeah, the floor.
Go ahead. I was. Go ahead.
Wait a minute, Monty. You promised we'd get to the important stuff. We got 26 days.
I got some important stuff here.
I was trying to just finish the intro, but all right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just didn't want HiJacker to step on me.
No. Listen, Viking. Me and you, believe it or not, we are actually going to die together because if Biden takes
romantic.
power. No,
back to back, man. Pull the blood.
No,
no one gets left behind.
If Biden takes power, you and Q die. Me as well. I die. So, we don't pull this thing off. We both die.
I've got a feeling Biden's going to die before both of you, and it'll be Harris.
And that's funny, Monty.
Hey,
that's funny.
Hey,
right.
We're supposed to be talking about carb versus fuel injection.
Yeah, I'm up for talking
all right,
about
no. I didn't say everyone talk at once because that's great radio. Let's be fair, and we're not talking. No, stop it. And the car park section will be at the end of the hour. All right. Because we're still talking about it, but not right now. Because let's look at the timeline or event line or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
so
the
can you give me
line.
a minute? Give me the stick for the minute.
Most important things. You got a minute.
1 minute.
One day I'll finish my sentence. Go ahead, HiJacker.
Okay, so here's what we're on the precipice of. In 26 days, basically, it's got to go through the legal system. I'm talking about the American presidential elections. And so the Supreme Court basically is going to be faced with either a piecemeal, like microcosm type of, well, he won this state and this district didn't certify, or this or that, or they go big and basically say, you know what, the country is at such an explosive point that the best thing that we can do is basically say unverifiable mail-in balloting and electronic voting is illegal. We're calling basically the elections are null and void. Snap elections on a presidential level, since that's where it was stalled, which, by the way, it was stalled up on that level. That's why you saw the Republicans pick up. They say 12 seats now in the House. They're only 4 seats away from overturning the United States House, going Republican. That's how big a landslide.
Did you say 4?
What's that?
Did you say 4 seats, Jacker?
Yeah, the Republicans
right
now.
Sure that close. That's we need the House because that's investigations.
Yeah. Right. That's the whole bulwark. But this is the point. This is the big point. Is that we're on the precipice now. If the Supreme Court is corrupt, Then we go into the last cycle, and that is the military, the law enforcement, the President of the United States saying, look, this is a complete communist takeover in which they can tie this whole Dominion computer and everything right back to the Chinese. It's a clear and present danger. It's national security. And then we go into, my God, we're going to go into havoc to save the world.
As long as it gets to the Supreme Court, I think we'll be fine. Because, A, 3 Trump appointees in office. B, we don't need John Roberts. C, Alito has already sided with Trump in one of his injunction appeals or whatever. It was very early on, like first week of the legal challenges.
Yeah, and Alito,
and
he's the
Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is going to kick so much ass. It's not even going to be.
Can I get Viking to respond, because I know he was chomping at the bit, or whatever that saying is.
So going back to what Sidney Powell was saying today in her investigative reporting, she has a Venezuelan whistleblower, which is pretty high up in the military, that was witness to the voting fraud that took place with Dominion software. And he lives in the United States now, and basically said that this software was used to overturn not only that election, but the Cuban election, possibly the Argentinian election. So what's happening now is not only, and you want to know how Trudeau gets his votes? Just say Dominion voting. I mean, this has been designed to obscure the results of every election, and this is what's coming out here. And so what's really interesting is not only is it going to be exposed here in the States, but I'm waiting to see the Banana Republic absolutely just come to its knees with revolution, knowing that their electoral system has been rigged. I mean, this is huge. This is so huge that it's not going to be because of the ballot, the mail-in ballot basically brought them to point A. Point B was then the Dominion switcheroo. So the Dominion is really, I mean, they basically, Trump, even with all the ballots that they casted that were fraudulent, he still won the election. He still won.
That's what I'm saying.
They shut it down because even the ballots couldn't do the job. So they had to go to Dominion.
I have a question.
The whole thing turned around.
Right.
I have a question. Which
I have a second question.
No, you can
After
wait.
you.
Yeah. Now, when Sidney Powell goes to the Supreme Court, that's with Kavanaugh and all those.
Right. That's the key. That's the key, Mike.
Yeah.
Good.
Now,
good.
now, okay. Yeah. Now, what happens? Is that public or private? Like the hearings, that will be all public? Because what I'm getting at is, if she puts forward all this evidence and has everything to back it up, and the American people see all that, and if the Supreme Court justices are corrupt and they say no, the American people, you know what I mean? It's a time of transparency and a bit of waking up, if you can follow the line of thought there.
Yeah, that is the point. The point is that because what Viking's talking about, this is so damaging and is in so many countries all throughout South America, Central America, even over in Europe. They've been using this software and this type of Smartmatic software and Dominion. It's so big that if the Supreme Court actually picks it up and Sidney Powell basically puts forth the information, it's going to be so devastating that Viking's right. There could be revolutions all over the world. So now the question is, are they going to do it? Are they going to reverse this massive election slide by Donald Trump and give it to Biden and go corrupt and hide it? Yeah. And then what happens after that? Go ahead.
CIA.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Cortek, and then I'll bring in a bit more question message. Go ahead.
Hey, Viking, along these lines, what do you know about Skittle? I heard that was kind of tied in with Dominion.
I have no idea.
Company
They-
Skittle, SCY.
Skydle, yeah, they're the ones that actually run it.
Skydle. It's
Skydle.
Skydle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Spanish company.
Yeah, they use scoreboard
Okay,
as
so
well,
that's
I think.
That's the Spanish.
Yeah, Viking
umbrella,
knows.
okay.
It's Skydle.
Yeah.
Right. Barcelona.
Barcelona, yeah.
Is it Miss Powell or Mrs. Powell? I do want to show respect here. Anyway, Sydney. No, don't start with that.
She's a female monk. She's totally dedicated.
Okay, yeah. Well, Sydney is actually mentioned about getting the director of the CIA fired as well, because she put forward that the only way that this could have happened is the CIA allowed it.
She's spot on. They're complicit. They're complicit with every single election that took place with this format.
Yeah, she actually, no,
Right.
bad language. She actually pointed out that the FBI. She did point out the FBI. It's political instead of following the law. Now, the CIA is not all bonesmen. If you follow my drift, basically there are factions.
Speaking of firing, the president 2 days ago directed Chris somebody, I don't know. He's the head of Wolf of Homeland Security, and President Trump said, "You fire the cyber security person that was over the elections, director of cyber election security or whatever." He would not do it. Trump had to actually do it today, and in a tweet, the president directly fired the cyber security chief of elections or whatever, who came out and says, "Oh, it's all good. Everything's all good. You know, even though Trump got 80 million votes and Biden only got about 50 million or maybe 55 million, it doesn't matter. It's all good." And he fired him. So, and maybe tomorrow he's going to fire the CIA director.
They're talking about that right now on CNN. I don't know if it's a repeat. It's probably a repeat from earlier this evening, but they discussed that on CNN.
Could we also just point out just the bravery of Steve Zerilath having to watch CNN so we don't have to?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I barely watch anything.
You want to stay sane.
You give it 30 seconds, and that's pretty much the loop for the next 2 hours.
I look at CNN to see how much percentile of coverage the coronavirus is getting, because I wouldn't even be that freaked out about anything. And the longer they go where they're not posting all those cases and talking about all those cases every heartbeat of every second of every day. So, the more pressure goes on this, the deep state is going to have to eventually go into self-preservation mode. So the very legal fight itself is going to suck the power of the voice of the coronavirus out of the Mockingbird areas, because
right, Steve, unless they go false flag,
shaping your opinion about the election.
Right.
With the false flag thing, HiJacker, I don't think that would be very wise because of how everyone is interested. And as Sydney Powell has pointed out, the amount of whistleblowers coming through, there's that, I hate it because the word's being weaponized, but you have patriots, people that believe in the idea of America. It's a good idea. It's a shame that it doesn't really sort of
just give me a minute.
Yeah, but what I was getting at very quickly is, if they do a false flag, it will be shut down really quickly because everyone's got that heightened tension. Go ahead, sir.
Right. Yeah, you can basically say that, but so all these different people that had these visions and prophecies or whatever, there is a period right as the government is at war with the communists and the civil war before, Venezuela and the South Americans and the Chinese basically invade and Russia nukes, that there is a nuclear false flag that basically happens overall the whole country. And as these people are starting to be trapped, and Sidney Powell seems to have the information to be able to trap these people.
Again?
Yeah.
I'm saying it's multiple people. It's just not one people. But you can actually take a look. What I'm saying, you can take a look at the Matrix, and you can see that if this deep state ultimately is being trapped, and Trump will win a second term of he's going to be coming after them, and so they got to move now. I mean, they got to move right now. So they've already done the first phase.
That's a minute.
Stop that. Just to interrupt all the time, Cortek. Don't give me that timing crap.
Yeah, I mean, come on. So they've done the first phase with this hype up the COVID-19. They've done that. As soon as the election stopped, boom, all of a sudden, massive lockdowns, mandatory mask, no Thanksgiving dinners, no Christmas. We're locking you down, but they're bum rushing us. Yeah, but they got other things besides that. They got suitcase-sized nukes. They got other things they can use. Go ahead.
Just remember, the cases is not of COVID-19. The cases of coronavirus. And that's, so we're in flu season. So now, you've got a new influx of the regular seasonal flu. There's the year-round flu, because everybody gets a sort of form of that. You can get things like a summer cold, and a cold is a coronavirus. And then you have SARS-CoV-2, which is a particular strain of the flu that is a SARS-style flu as a respiratory flu that may give you the symptoms of the disease COVID-19. Yes, folks, it's that complicated and convoluted. All that to make you think that every coronavirus case is a COVID-19 case waiting to happen. You are a ticking time bomb. You are your grandmother's jihadist.
Right. So here's
lucky I have a immune system. But the thing is, if I may very quickly, is if I go, dare I say, spiritual, the controls of the planet, I think they're allowing the New World Order faction, because they're insane. And this is like, the psychopaths in charge is like, no, they're really lost it. They're insane. They're hanging them out to dry. They're giving them up. And so they may want to do that, HiJacker. I've got a feeling. Here's something you can check. I've got a feeling they'll try but get caught, because I can't think of the right sentence for it. Where
everything they do is sloppy.
Well, yeah, the New World Order faction are completely crap. But what I'm saying is that, if you've got the farmers of the energy farmers of the planet, they still want humanity to be there to feed off the energy. If the New World Order comes in, you destroy the herd. They don't want that, and so they'll probably give them up. And so, they're all so they can stay in control, but the New World Order idiots will be like, we're in a corner, we're going to lash out. We're caught.
Well, here's something you can check, and it kind of follows along the line of Cliff High and the WebBot and the psychology. So when I've crash landed in South Carolina, I was at a flea market, and there was this Aussie, and he was making these wreaths. It was at Christmas time, and he made a lot of money. I was really envious of him. I'm selling all this stupid stuff for like $1, and he's getting like $40 a wreath. I mean, this is like 40 years ago,
like
or 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yes. But he told me that as South Africa was starting to fall, that the elite or the political class, basically white, they woke up and they realized that the minorities or the blacks were going to take over. And he goes, the way I got to the United States is by a yacht. And he goes, you would not believe how many people instantaneously, some kind of psychologically knew that the fall of South Africa or South
the South African government and the
apartheid. They were falling and they built
it.
So what I would say to you Aussies, right? So what I would say to you Aussies, check into how many yachts are being built and how many are being sold or getting ready to bail out, like they did in South Africa.
Yeah, they'll probably go to New Zealand because that seems to be a bit of a stronghold for those new.
Yeah, but I'm saying in real time, you can go right now and you can Google the yacht. Say you would think that we're in an economic collapse, but if you're seeing boats left and right being sold, then that means the total population, the psychology, like Cliff High talks about with the WebBot, it's starting to dawn on them. We better get the hell out of here. And so you would see all kinds of boats and everything else being bought.
I'm not sure how that applies to Australia. I don't think anyone wants to leave, but
No, we just want to be treated better.
But I like
Check the numbers.
I like the idea of people thinking things at the same time. That goes back to Rupert Sheldrake and his kind of morphic resonance thing in 100 Monkeys, and how birds fly in a massive pack, when they just all do that swooping thing and turn as one kind of thing. I think there's something in it,
Yeah, well, did you see the Prime Sinister, as Vinnie Eastwood would say, of Australia? He's starting to use, I don't think he said build back better, and I would like to meet the 4-year-old that came up with that slogan. Very good. But because they're being told by the IMF and everything, this is where humanity's going, and really this is where we want humanity to go. And so they're starting to push all this great reset and all that type of crap. That won't work, because how can you get 7 million people go, yeah, we don't own anything and we're happy? And like, no, if you take everything that we own, you won't be happy, because there will be a global revolution of like, I like my Metallica records. How dare you take them from me? On that level, if we're going to make it personalized.
It's a tricky business.
Yeah, and so what we're kind of seeing is now going back to how America is the front line because of what represents. It's that freedom. And from the inside of the United States, you probably can see that you don't really have 100% freedom, but you have a lot of freedom compared to every other country in the world. Like, if you want to leave America, where would you go? Honestly. And so, like, if I don't see the Australian population leaving Australia because it's too big. We can go hide in the bush, and it's more
up north. It's a long way.
Yeah, I know. And I can see the elites, which is they call them the best of the best, but they've twisted the term of elite because they all suck as human beings. They'll try to probably go to New Zealand because they've got their shoe-in with Prime Minister Ardern. She seems, she's a Freemason and all that type of stuff.
Right. Well, Monty, if Biden wins, he's definitely going to turn over not only Taiwan but Australia to the Chinese, communist Chinese, as a vassal state.
Man,
that's going to happen.
Like speculation, man.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You guys are only 25 million. What's 25 million? You got all that gold. You got everything down there.
And we also
how is Biden?
Come on, you don't think the communist Chinese are going to take Australia? Come
There's
on,
no respect in doing it that way.
Hey, we're all talking at once, and it sounds terrible. The Australian population, though, we like to drink and fight. And especially if it's for a good cause. Also, we have a massive backyard which is full of sand. In World War II, there is there was. I hope there
25,
is still
30 million. That's nothing.
Yeah. But on the size of the continental of the United States, where there was in World War II, there was the Brisbane Adelaide line, where all the population of Australia would go below that line and give the Japanese all the desert. And of course, that's why is it the SAS, like our special operation? Yeah,
yes.
They're one of the best in the world because they're basically pricks. Their sergeants are pricks. All right, Johnson, here's a bottle of water, and we're going to fly you out into the middle of North Queensland. See you in 2 weeks. And everything wants to kill you. And so our backyard is a massive training place for it.
70 years ago, Monty. The technology now they can put.
And also,
right over your head.
Yeah, and also, we would know beforehand. Also, what do you think the global reaction would be if China invades Australia?
No respect in doing it that way, HiJacker.
And also, very quickly,
dude. If China invades Australia,
hey, host, playing the host card, and then Steve. If Biden does that, what do you think the American people are going to do? Because your country is based on a revolution. And so you have to a lot of Americans are going, oh, that's a shame.
That is actually the question on the table. The question on the table is, as this Biden presidency becomes more and more apparent and everybody seems to be going along with it, how quick will everything start to break down?
No,
that is actually very, very important.
Yeah. Steve, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No. Everybody knows that Biden and Harris take power, that the game is up. We're going into economic collapse. We're going into
listen.
Go ahead. Steve, go ahead.
Everybody for the last year has been weighing the consequences of a Biden win in one way, shape, or form. And so, yes, we've all been thinking about that. ever since we knew it was obvious that he was going to succeed in being selected by the elites of the Democrat Party to be the nominee. In coordination with the Mockingbird media, who made it painfully obvious he was the only candidate in their consciousness and that everybody else was just kind of a flighting fancy, maybe up for VP grabs, which one of their worst ones was. We all understand that. We're so we don't have to think about those consequences. We know the horror show. We've been living it for 9 months. And plus we've been talking about it for 4 years, about the horror show that is China world dominance on behalf of the globalists. Nobody likes it. So we're in the middle of game theory about how we can help move the legal pieces to fix what has been broken this election passed.
So we're down to the Supreme Court.
The Electoral College to validate. Because at the end of the day, if you can do things in a way that frees the Electoral College to vote for Trump, that is the objective.
Right. I agree. I totally agree. But as the information is coming out, listen, everybody knows that Trump won in a landslide. Every judge, every lawyer, every cop, everybody knows. Now, what are they going to let that go forward? That is the question. If they don't, I'm saying that once it comes into the view that Biden, that the deep staters have basically won and they basically pulled this coup off, I'm saying it's going to collapse quick. I'm saying quick. I'm saying within like 30 days, a month.
Do you think it's Sydney?
No, I'm saying.
Was that? I just want to share talking space. John, did you want to have a word?
Yeah, I don't know if everyone has actually really thought about this. Guys, you understand that no matter who is president at this point, we're going to suffer an economic collapse. In fact, the entire world to some degree is to some degree.
You guys should have had a recession 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. we should have. A lot of people are not realizing this. I mean, dude, just look at the amount of small businesses, not just here, around the world, that are gone. They're not coming back.
That leads us to the Great Reset.
Fixing this. There is no fixing this. This is broken.
And Viking, now, can I hear from Viking because he seems to be my financial advisor on Planet Collingwood?
No, one signet is the fact that we have not seen food lines or bread lines anything like this in history. I mean, this is so. Then all they can. They're not even covering the devastation, as you guys are pointing out, of the financial collapse that is occurring, and only kept alive. Again, it's only kept alive because big tech and there's only about 12 companies that are literally supporting the stock market. 12 companies that are keeping it alive. Otherwise, this whole thing would have gone down a long time ago. But it has to crash and burn. I just want to say one thing here before you guys jump in. This I don't believe that Biden's going to win. Trump's going to take it. My concern is when the Democratic train finally careens off the track and crashes and burns, the civil unrest in this country is going to be unprecedented. We're already seeing this weekend the algorithm has started where you're seeing clashes. You're seeing the Trump supporters showing up peacefully with their flags. The BLM are showing up with battle shields. Battle shields, just like the police. Do you see the shields that they're carrying with BLM stenciled across the front? I mean, they're showing up to actually battle. They're not showing up to. I mean, this is so blatant. The contentiousness of this, and we're only talking about maybe a couple thousand people that are pay for play to go in and cause disruption. But what's going to happen here? And they confiscated 4 guns, and they arrested a few people. But if this thing goes any further, and Biden is definitely exposed for the atrocities of a fraud election, it's going to get really nasty here. But it has to go down this track in order for people to really exhaust themselves and to see exactly how bad it was.
Maybe
John,
maybe it's a fast
if
way
I-
for them to see that too. Sorry.
Can I hear from John? I like this title giving, our military advisor here at Planet
Right. Well,
Collingwood.
Monty, get back to me. Go ahead.
Just real quick, Viking. Yeah, you hit on something that's very important. No matter which way this goes, there's going to be some sort of unrest and disappointment. And just so everyone knows, it only takes 1% of a population, and I'm not talking a country, I'm talking about a town, a city, a place, to turn it into absolute crap. Go ahead.
So, well, here's one of the things I wanted to point out is that during the summer riots, despite all of the quote-unquote inaction that we witnessed, there was plenty of investigation at the same time. And then eventually, when things like the monuments executive order was put into place and such, many key appropriate arrests happened. This is why you did not see a second or third or fourth imitation. No trend of Chaz Chop occurred. Chaz Chop incredibly
did the Monument Act
to making a point. Excuse me. Hold on, man. Hold on. I've been quiet.
Sorry.
Thank you. And so, in other words, Trump's investigative people on various different levels, especially with his friends in the NYPD and what happened in New York, they've got a bead. If anybody tries anything that they haven't arrested yet from the earlier entrapments where they got a lot of head organizers and such, they've got them entrapped in this situation. I'm telling you, bro, FEMA should be doing the vaccine. This is not about a vaccine. It's military distribution of an arm shot being made by a private corporation by Donald Trump. No, that's absurdity. It's going to be the necessary martial law, and it's an insane thing. I've been talking about on my YouTube channel. This is martial law, but it's not because it's the deep state. It's the Patriots trying to end the deep state,
right?
But
so
has to have the unfortunate problem of dealing with a population that's lost all rational thought.
Go ahead,
Can I
HiJacker.
ask a question?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Make it a short question, and then HiJacker, please.
Steve, was the Monuments Act that you talked about a thing that made it a federal crime or something like that to defend?
Yes, it was.
10 years in prison if you vandalize a monument.
Okay,
and all those statues being pulled down, all that disappeared, and Trump giggled at that because it's like, haha, it worked.
Did they make that just before they were talking about defacing that really massive one with the four faces?
You mean Mount Rushmore?
Anyway,
most likely, because they started pulling down Lincolns. Like, what are you people, idiots?
Yeah.
HiJacker, go ahead.
that was what was funny about Trump. Like, he let them go. Like, it was like Willy Wonka. Like, no, stop, don't eat that. You know, it's just like, but he doesn't mean it. He wants them to do it. Like Willy Wonka, letting the kids curse themselves. And what were they doing? Tearing down Democrat statue, Democrat statue, Democrat statue, left and right, Democrat statues. And then the right starts saying, that's a Democrat they're tearing down, a Democrat. Hey, leftist, you're tearing down a Democrat statue. Isn't that interesting? And then when they started tearing down universal figures like MLK and then Republicans like the slave liberator Lincoln. That's when the hammer came down.
Given enough rope, they can hang themselves. HiJacker, please.
Yeah. Okay. So we can see that we're, because of the economic collapse, all the evictions that are going to come up in January 1st, the food disruption, the food bank lines, we can basically see we're coming to, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Biden, we're coming to some kind of massive reset collapse. And so it's like a car doing 80 miles an hour, getting ready to slam into a brick wall. We're coming into some kind of period of violence
or opportunity.
Well, no, it's good. It's going to be bad. I mean, course, Australia, and yeah, they would think opportunity. I've met a couple of you guys.
Well,
You always
people,
can do.
people
You always
might
think
just
you
help each
you
other
Australians
instead of
always think
turning
you
on
can
each
take
other.
your way out of stuff.
No,
Mostly do.
No. I can do.
And very quickly,
Of course we do.
there's a lot of preppers out there, more preppers now because they saw the chaos of this year, especially when lockdowns, people didn't have to work, so they weren't distracted. A lot of people went into gardening and everything else like that. There's that self-sufficiency, as well as they realize they're too dependent on certain things, and so they're starting to bring back their own sovereignty in that point of view.
Monty, I've had a lot of Australian master gardeners that I sub to on YouTube. They got a lot of good information. But my point is that if these quote unquote prophets or these people like Dimitri Duduman are right, and that ultimately what happens is the United States government becomes at war, almost a civil war with the communists within their country, that we're coming to, and you can actually look at it globally. If you look at it globally, the French, the Germans, the Czechs, the Belarusians, the Chileans, all people seem to be rising up all at once because of this COVID-19 and to overthrow these people. That goes into the red horse of Revelation. And so the first horse is the white horse, which basically goes for conquering.
I just think it's made a lot of people aware of what's going on, and that's the best thing.
No, wait a minute. The white horse, it's the conquering with the crown, which is in Spanish, corona, and basically conquering and to conquer. Then we go to the red horse that takes peace upon the earth so that men kill each other. So we could be on the precipice, especially if Biden gets in, or if he doesn't. It doesn't even matter. Let's say Trump gets in, the lashback. We're talking about massive violence all over the earth. You Australians are going to know.
It's an interpretive metaphor. I saw the Four Horsemen, and there were four white buses that brought the...
Can I hear from Viking? I'd like to hear...
Can we have the numbers? I don't think that they have the numbers for that anymore. I think that look, all of this is happening because of the diminishment. Like, look, the coronavirus in the United States, it's like they were using Antifa to enforce that. Oh, you want to
50 million unemployed, 50 million to be evicted.
Yes, I know. Look, here's my point. Here's how the two are tied together. They're going to defund the police. Antifa was going to become a government-sanctioned gang, just like the Droogies in Clockwork Orange, which is an MK Ultra story. Okay? The Droogies, this is Clockwork Orange. Hi, yes. MK Ultra program. Now the literal thugs are now your new security force, and they're not police officers, they're security force, and they just go along with what a civil servant with legal backing is ordering them to do. So you have a civil servant that's like the dog trainer, and then the thugs are his people. He's the thinker. He's like, it's like the mob. Okay, you've got a general, or in the mob, and then you got soldiers. Okay, and then they report to the Don. Okay, that's what's going on.
Yeah,
and
that's what they want to go on. Sorry,
the way Biden operates in the first place. Yeah. So here's the deal: they are losing that. Antifa is dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. That happened. That crap that happened in Washington D.C. was ugly. But guess what? Washington D.C. is entirely like the heart and soul of the matter. One of the poorest standards of living.
Right.
Is
Vikings.
Okay.
Vikings, all right. The highest violence in the world.
Right.
Maybe it's actually
Vikings going to be dead too much. Vikings.
Stop.
Vikings.
Maybe it's actually people are dying in the streets in Washington.
Everyone take a breath. Everyone take a breath.
All right.
Oh my freaking God! You know what? It was that important for you to interrupt me under the pretense that you disagreed with what I said. that maybe you thought it was wrong. Just let me get to the end of the point. Everybody understands
get
that some
to
of
the
us are
point.
saying-
Get to the point.
We're
That's what.
talking about.
And HiJacker, don't interrupt as well. Let people.
Oh,
if people
come
get.
on! Hardly ever interrupt anybody. Go ahead.
Well, now, hey, there's a 2-hour show that we'll bring up. I'm smiling, by the way. Can I just throw in, and then I'll let Viking hopefully get through his. I'll hand it to Viking. There is also a possibility that the powers that be, or were, however you want to say it, they'll just kick the can down the road for another 4 years, and we'll be stuck in this crappy loop over and over again. That's
Trump? You mean with Trump?
It doesn't matter, even if it's Biden.
No.
No, what do you mean no? He could be gone in 3 months, and you get Harris, and no one has confidence in him.
That's even worse.
You're interrupting now.
It's over.
It's not. No, it's not. It's over because you say it's over.
Which side are you on, HiJacker?
Oh, you'll be sending your girlfriend down to the Chinese communist agent every Saturday night. You'll know what you'll have to do.
We'll know before that happens. Now, if I can finish my very short sentence. There is I said it's a possibility, and it's one of the timelines, blah 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 blah. They'll just kick it down the road so we all feel like this and get more agitated and just drain the energy out of us. Viking, can you please step in and give your 2 cents?
Yeah, this is what's happening here. When you go a little woo-woo, guys, what's happening here is far beyond the election, far beyond the chaos in the streets, far beyond the COVID. You know, we are finding ourselves overlapping timelines of atrocity, overlapping timelines of subjugation, of webs of deceit. This has been going on for 9,000 years, like the ebb and flow of an ocean. It's been coming in and out. Everything is overlapping at once here to get resolved. It needs to come out. Now, I'm going to say that when this whole election is overturned and people start hitting the streets, this is when Trump will finally bring out the troops and squell the riots and do mass arrests. And this is going to occur sometime. I'm going to say the middle of December. But, you know, as of the 23rd, all states have to come, with their electoral votes. But that's going to obviously, between now and Monday, is going to be contested. So it's going to get drawn out. But it will come to a point where he will finally bring out the troops. He'll nationalize the army into state federal marshals and bring out, the National Guard. He's not going to do that yet because he needs to show how desperate and how deep and how violent this can get before he steps in. Because everything has to play out. Even the deep state has to play out to the bitter end in order to find resolution. So I'm actually, in some aspects, seeing a positive aspect that this is the fact that they are going to rear their ugly head and do all of this demonic spell casting and trying to usurp this conscious awareness of humanity through their devious deeds. And it's not going to happen, but it has to play out. So we're going to see a very interesting 5 to 6 weeks, but I don't think there's going to be any kind of, communist or bombs or.
I would also say very quickly that Trump will deploy the troops, National Guard, all that when he has a valid legal reason. So he can't.
Exactly.
He'll be attacked by the media because he's a dictator. But if he's following the letter of the law, and Seattle and Oregon's a perfect example. He wanted to get people in, and he sort of helped out where he can. He's actually staying in the lane of the law, which is the law of the land. Go ahead, Steve. I think you want to share.
He's distributing the vaccine via the military. All he has to do is play with the legalities of wherever the vaccine is and say, okay, we're putting the troops on the ground now because we've gotten word from Pfizer that they're ready to go in about a day or so, right? That kind of thing. He'll start operating, and it'll be too late by the time Pfizer urges to CNN and says, we didn't say that. It'll be too late by then, and he's already got the excuse because we've been in a national emergency.
If Trump does this, he said 6 months ago that the military will distribute the vaccine, but it'll be voluntary, and I'm really hoping he's sticking to that.
he doesn't have to force it on you. Your employer will.
I don't think that's the case, because I think
I hope not. But
no, it's gonna resolve it. It's gonna resolve itself. But I mean, if Biden comes in, though, they're gonna force the travel card, and you can't travel unless you have a vaccine, and it's gonna be absolutely.
I got an interesting element to bring up. President Xi of China has not congratulated Biden yet. Right, and I believe as of today,
Putin, nor has India, nor has
Putin, right. So look, the CCP is our enemy, but I've heard soft rumors throughout this entire Trump presidency that President Xi is secretly dealing with the corruption within his own party, within his own nation, and apparently he is on the level. I mean, he's a communist and all, communist capitalist the way the Chinese are. But apparently, he only has so much power because the party has way more power than him.
Yeah, Steve, but I mean, organ harvesting and the Uyghurs have basically destroyed the credibility of Xi Jinping. So
I know that they have. I know that they have. But listen. In a similar sense, but thank God we're a better country. The horrible way that we've handled human trafficking and illegal immigration, is an element of the some of the substandards in our most violent and poorest.
Let's get back to the end game.
Country. We also it's not as bad.
Come on,
it's
Steve.
not as bad.
Come on, you know what you're doing. You just talk the talk.
Here's my point.
So do you. You know exactly what it is,
we have people that
Jack has got a valid point
for making things better, and we all believe that there's certain guys that are fighting a whole system that doesn't want things to get better. And now we have this anomaly, this miracle of quote unquote the Trump administration. So Xi, dealing with a much more evil system with far less power, is perhaps going to turn. Because if they do, what does that mean? That means Trump made an agreement where he's like, Xi, all that blackmail you've got on everybody in Washington? Yeah, go ahead, buddy, pull the trigger. Right.
So,
and then
you're really going to believe Xi Jinping?
No, I don't believe it. I'm just saying he hasn't congratulated Biden yet. I think that means something.
That's because he knows. That's because he knows at the back of his mind is that he knows the massive voter fraud. He knows it's going to be tied back to them. And really, if you take a look at it from the Pentagon's perspective, if this COVID-19 was released as a bioweapon that was released from China, and they are involved in this massive voter fraud, these are two asymmetrical acts of war, which means we're at war with China. That's what it means. And so then you're talking about
China hasn't picked a side. China hasn't picked a side.
Well, it's picked its own
Chinese
side.
government has picked sides. These, but you're referring to are covert acts that may not be the Chinese government. Well, how do you think Biden and Hillary are tied into China? Not through the government. It's through these covert actions.
And I saw that and I also saw that Biden has been named in a court case in the Ukraine to be investigated as well.
Was that the $4.5 million one or
Here's
something?
the thing.
That was the example of him with a charity and didn't do any research, and it just all went to wages.
Well, basically,
$4.5 million.
The thing is, Biden stupidly went on. It was a CFR meeting or whatever it is. He's on camera. I remember seeing this. I've seen it.
Yeah,
he basically he says he extorted the.
He was gloating.
He was gloating, yeah, and it's like, and people say there's no evidence. It's like the whole thing about Obama. He wasn't born in Kenya, so you're calling Obama a liar because he said it repeatedly at press conferences when he's in Kenya. Like, where the belief systems are at war at the moment, and we're trying to find the truth, basically.
Yeah. So my point is merely this: that in the grand scheme of the game theory, if we're talking about conflict with China like this, it wouldn't work because China would have had to have struck before Trump succeeded in rebuilding our military. They would have had to struck before Trump succeeded in various devastating trade deals. They would have had to struck before most of the world chose to turn against them for releasing this terrible plague that they're pretending is scary. Okay, all these things is bad world stage stature.
Well, wait a minute, Steve Bannon. Okay, let me get a chance before we get off the air. Steve Bannon basically says that the greatest failure of the Chinese intelligence agencies was Donald Trump, plain and simple. And so before we go, can we take from all this information? The one thing that we can take is that we're getting ready to go into really rough water. It doesn't matter if it's Trump, which is going to cause a lashback, massive violence, or it's Biden, which will be like secret civil war. I mean, we're going to go into real dark stuff. Biden gets in, especially the military and the police force. They're going to go off the reservation. They're going to grab what they need. But the point is, out of this 2-hour conversation, you better get ready. You better get your beans, your bullets, butter, whatever you need, because we're going into full-scale lockdown. By the way, Biden's chief of the COVID-19 has now said as soon as Biden becomes president, they're going to do a lockdown all the way to next summer, mandatory mask, and it's going to be like only like grocery stores can open up. No bar, no gym, no. Go ahead.
Well, so you're,
we've got 3 minutes.
They're going to have to hire a bunch of people to enforce that. And I talked about the Antifa situation, and I said that their numbers are dwindling. They're not going to have the ability to enforce this, and it's not on the hearts and all that stuff's going to fail. They're going to have to do contingencies for that. Like, too much of the public has cracked. It's much easier now to have conversations off the internet with people just about the general atmosphere about COVID and the elections.
So you also have
conversations, because everybody either hates the idea that the election was fake or hates the idea that COVID is fake.
So, you also will have, as we mentioned earlier, the tide is turning, and so people will jump ship, and they'll pick the winning team. Let's hear. Can we please? Do I have to do a show about how conversations work? We have 4 minutes, and so I did want to get to car parks. But if you didn't interrupt, I was about to say I would like to hear from Viking.
So the way I see this, the strategy of Trump releasing these vaccines at this point in time, the election will be overturned. He'll have the vaccines out. And by the first of the year, he will basically see no reason to maintain the masks. And I really believe that this is the timeline that's going to manifest that with the vaccine, with people taking the vaccines, and with him going into a new power structure of 2021. You're going to. This is why he's releasing the vaccines now, because now he can have a 6 to 8 weeks where. By the first of the year, and he's got his tenure, he's not going to have the mass enforcement. I really believe this is going to manifest.
There could be something out of left field from the medical community of basically saying, "Oh, we've discovered this is a seasonal flu. Lockdowns are bad, and everything else like that." So that is a possibility. Now, while I have the talking stick, Viking, would you like to tell everyone when you have your show next?
Yeah, so we're doing Friday. Studio A at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Galactic Interstellar Council, down the rabbit hole galactic perspective. And we're going to be talking about what I was saying earlier, how these timelines are collapsing in onto themselves in order to resolve. We got to resolve these energetics, and so they have to rear their ugly head. And by them all happening at once, and being able to find resolution, it will be able to create this harmonization into this next paradigm.
Steve, where can people find you?
You can find me on youtube.com// Zerilath and DLive, where we are streaming right now. Small numbers for the broadcast, but DLive.com/Zerilath and Zerilath396 on Facebook.
HiJacker, what are your plans? Because I know you want to basically walk away and have a rest, but will you be on Deacon Show soon, or just popping on to
Deacon John? That would be 2 p.m. Pacific time on Studio A. And by the way, since both I and Viking got on, Monty, your audience has gone up like 35%, like astronomical. So
it's a good show.
The information people want to hear about. You should have a really good YouTube. But I'm gonna ride it out until either President Trump or Biden, whichever one. And I'm hoping and praying, and I do believe, for a particular reason, that President Trump is going to win. It has more to do with a prayer than anything else. But then after that, my time's over. Then I just fade away. There's nothing more I can do.
If I may share an idea, I would stay on till the inauguration, and then you can bow out and say, "Look, there we are, President Trump. He's the guy. I'm going to go."
Well, I might, but if the Supreme Court goes,
yeah, I know. I'm manifesting a good thing.
Criminal and it's over.
Yeah,
then President Trump's only option is the military, the Patriots.
Thank you, Monty. It's been a great show.
Yeah,
thank you. John Z, what subway line can people see you on in New York?
Well, I just have one question. Carbs or fuel injection?
Well, I own a bike. Cortek, anything to say before we go?
No.
Oh, yeah, free energy, a Tesla. Cortek?
Is it right? Is it kind? Is it useful?
Yeah. That was Planet Collingwood, freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. We will be back 6 days and 22 hours. I love you all. We'll see you soon. Have fun.